Hejsan hejsan.
Hur mår ni?
Jo då. Trots regn och mörker så jo då, rätt bra.
Ja.
Mm.
Hi Terry.
Hi there.
Hello.
I think we are. Yeah, it's about the hour.
No.
Yeah, well, I guess we can start. Or should we wait a few minutes? Ankit said he will not be here, at least. Yeah, shall we just begin? So I can share the screen with HackMD. Yep. Oops.
Jaha.
The agenda is Oktoberfest. I'm not sure if we did have some issues labeled with Oktoberfest, but
Yeah. No. If anything actually happened with that, no, I don't. It was not obvious that anybody reacted to those.
no, I don't think we really published it very well. It was perhaps mentioned in the City Foundation blog, and we tweeted about it, but that's about it, I think. And it was perhaps mentioned briefly in the in Slack also.
Yeah, but it's nothing to say about that really.
Yeah, okay, so that's quick. What's the next point in the agenda?
I don't know.
Yeah. But you just think about these things before the meeting starts. We have some enhancements which were proposed.
Sure.
That could be something to discuss. So
Mention what I was the enhancement I wrote. Well, I mean, I've
yeah,
been for a while, but I think got around to write about it just now, and it has to do with change logs for well, typically, well, both things like Jenkins X, and also for cluster repositories, and in the problem there is of course that most of the commits are pull requests with the where you increase the version of some dependency.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
that is that you would be is to get the automatic propagation of the change log for that version change into the, like, I don't know if you call that downstream or upstream, but don't say so basically that JX promote and JX update bot should be able to propagate change logs, and then that should be picked up by JX change log when generating the change log. So that is the idea. But yeah, if you go in there, if you go with change branch, I haven't merged it. So if you change from that to this propagate change log, and then you will see that in there. I don't know. There is a change pull request about it, and unless anybody has any major like can state any reason not to do it, I will start implementing that probably next week.
Yeah, it sounds like a very good idea. That's so long as the release notes in the original changelog is interesting and not just a bunch of crap, but probably when we upgrade the versions of
As
other health
always,
charts.
garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah,
We can't change that.
No, that's right. That's right. So we can at least transfer it in the most perfect manner. That's sounds nice. Yeah. No, I think this sounds very excellent, and I missed exactly the thing to see what was changed in this version stream version.
So yeah, that's one thing I've done lately. Otherwise, there have been some things that have been going on more slowly. So that I suppose we haven't mentioned here, but I don't have a particular demo to offer. I mean, that's about basically getting reuse of pull request back.
Yes.
Again, it was something that existed in EX2, and there was kind of it seemed like Strachan was planning to get it working in EX3, but never got around to it. It was like half finished. Well, actually less than half finished. I thought it was half finished, but it was less than that. So I had to do with more changes than I thought. But it is basically working now. It's in for JX promote and JX update bot. So you can configure it for like in for JX promote. You can configure, for example, for an environment that this should have reuse pull requests, which means basically that content of the so typically in production environments you don't have it could be useful. So especially if you do many releases that it never releases, so you don't get cluttered with pull requests that typically get merge conflicts as well. Anyway, so what it does is simply when a new version is released, the commits are replaced with the new version change. and
Yeah, I added it to our cluster, and it works very nicely. We don't get the loads of conflicts that we used to have.
nice. Yeah, I think it has worked well for us as well. I suppose you should promote it a bit more now. I mean, I started working on it this spring, and then I had it running locally in my workplace, and after doing some tweaks, beginning of the autumn, I think it works nicely. What else have I worked on? Yeah, it's cluster repositories. I have added functionality in the version streams make file mk so that you can use cat live apply instead of kubectl apply, so it's opt-in as well. And I'm using that now in all our Jenkins X 3 clusters. It works well. I mean, there's some things that are some things that are undeniably good. Other things are more of but it's a bit more finicky. So it's not what can I say, forgiving with, for example, when you have syntax errors in the YAML that actually is accepted by kubectl apply, but not by cat live apply. And also, it will not finish on. Will not finish successfully until everything is actually deployed, which is both good and bad. It means that you actually, when it's finished, you know it's actually deployed, but also means that it will hang if you have some application that won't start properly. So it's both good and bad. But it works. It does.
Yeah, so that's the thing to use for the promotion strategy, right?
No, yeah, well, it's what you use it in your JX boot job.
Yeah.
So JX boot job will so you configure it in your make file for your cluster repository. So it will use kept live apply. You shouldn't confuse it with kept apply because that's actually something different.
So the
live apply means that it's the equivalent of kubectl apply. So it's space live kept. No, not space. Live. Yeah, exactly. So that applies the manifests to the cluster for a kept. The manifests in the kept package are applied to the cluster. But yeah, that's basically so it's I think it works well. I don't know if we should make it like the default, but there are pros and cons, as I mentioned. I think it's mainly pros, but there's a change of behavior that could be I don't know.
Yeah, sure, but is it faster or does it
It's not. The thing is, it could be perceived as slower because it waits until the applications are actually deployed. So the changes in the cluster are made. That's not no difference really in how fast it's actually applied to the cluster. But the job will wait until will not succeed until they actually are applied, until deployment actually gone through.
Okay, so you don't risk to have a half run job sort of. It's either everything is applied or nothing.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. So it's not one thing that of course could happen before was that it seemed like it succeeded, but it actually had not gone through. So you have it. There's a security in a sense with kept live apply that if it says succeeded, it's pass. And also the reason I actually did it was because it's actually then one thing that it does, it's actually removes stuff. So if you, I mean, what actually triggered this what was this spring for me was that I was removing some horizontal autoscaler from the Helm chart, or well, I configured it to not be applied, and it didn't disappear from the cluster because kubectl apply prune as is the default simply it doesn't care about it. It only removes certain resources.
Yeah.
And this doesn't work like that. This keeps the list of what it has created.
Okay.
If it's missing, if it sees that something that has applied before is not a part of the manifest anymore, it will be deleted from the cluster.
Okay. So that's a nice feature. I just experienced this.
Yeah.
Several times. Things are not removed.
Yeah. So that is actually the reason I started working on this.
Yeah, good. So how can we say this? It will actually remove the keep list. That's how it works. You keep list of deployed resources and will remove stuff when removed.
But because one thing that you talked about performance, and as I said, now it might feel slower because it actually waits until things are applied or deployed, actually even reconciled, as it says, general term. But it was actually slower to begin with, and that was because it it felt much slower at the beginning, and that's also because one thing that takes a long time to actually reconcile are apparently custom resource definitions. And since you actually don't change those that often, I actually made one thing I made a difference is also that which also makes it might feel quicker in some cases, is that when you activate kept live apply instead of kubectl apply, it will only apply changes, apply stuff to the cluster if there are actually changes made in the repository. So it will regenerate the manifests in this according to the same rules as before, but then it will check, have the manifests actually changed? It will actually and to be able to do that, I have introduced tags for that. So I have tags, it's like a series of tags for the different kinds, the different parts of the config config directory. So it's the custom resource definitions, the cluster resources, and the namespace resources. And those are separately, all the any changes made. And then that case kept live applies is used, otherwise nothing is done.
That's good.
Then you also get the tags, which I will actually continue using for with the proposal I mentioned before with the so I will use the tag for the namespace resources to be able to create a change log.
Yeah, sounds good. One question, does it also do drift detection, or will it remove things that is not in the manifests? No.
No, it only looks at what you have in the manifests.
Yeah, and it doesn't care about other things.
No.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what else. Yeah. Anything else that I want to mention while at it?
Yeah. Well, it's not something I've done recently, but I worked with the It's not released yet either. The support for the OCI registry. That's using Helm charts in the OCI. Making it possible to push and pull Helm charts to an OCI registry. That's what I'm working with. And I have it working for my own cluster. And it is nice. And it's the things that I can use regular container registries to store Helm charts. I don't need it. Like we have used GitHub pages, which has done the job, but now we have lots of Helm charts. It gets very unreliable because it times out, and yeah, so we just have to restart jobs, and kind of we don't know if it works. And the idea is that other when using Amazon ECR registry should be more responsive, and also it will kind of integrate with the other things. But to have a really smooth integration with the OCI registries, it would be nice to have the Docker credential helpers included the same places where we interact with the Helm charts, both the push and the pull. That means adding credential helpers to boot job and around the place. So that's a thing we could consider. I will make an enhancement proposal for this. Because as you see, that's what I my custom boot job does exactly this. It logs into Amazon using a custom init container and then adds the token, which is short-lived. That's kind of the problem here. And then it works, but it's kind of a hack.
I think it's, I mean, when so it's, let's see which places I use it, of course in the boot job, but then of course also when you promote, when you publish the Helm chart, and to put it, the helpers in that job, that image, that's, yeah,
it's already there in the pipeline.
Yeah, so that let's see, that must, so it's simply the Jakes, is it
Jakes
Jakes
promote?
Is it Jakes GitOps?
Yeah. No, it's not. I'm sorry.
Jakes GitOps. No, let's see.
Jakes GitOps Helm release as the command.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So put it in the Jakes GitOps image. I suppose that makes sense. I guess we already. No, yeah.
It's there.
Okay. For Jakes, it's a bit.
Or at least that's not a big problem. It's more of a problem in the boot job.
It's yeah.
Because it's
it's more like it's getting so big.
Yeah.
That image, but maybe, yeah, maybe that is. And also I'm thinking how many, and the thing is, I don't really know how many credential helpers is out there. I mean, how many would we need?
Yeah, I don't know the 3: Google, Amazon, and Azure.
Yeah.
There's probably more, but
yeah.
Yeah, but to handle this would be something we don't need
Yeah.
to decide.
Yeah. But I don't think it is that bad to just have it as in an init container, because I don't really see a big problem with just doing that in that way instead, to have it in the container for doing this. Because yeah.
Yeah, well, so the way I did it in the boot job is to have one init container that extracts the password, puts it into a file, and then in the, you already know this, Martin, but then in the boot job, read the password, set it as environment variable, and then works. Yeah. That's a hack, and you won't get people.
I don't think it's a hack.
Do that.
I don't think it is a hack.
Well,
yeah,
it works for me, but if you want to say that we support also Helm charts, we can't can't add that to the documents, that procedure.
Well, we already have a number of different boot jobs that for different cases.
Okay.
Fines. So this is just another. So we just put them in the version stream, and then we just say, well, do this to choose this other boot job.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Because there are already other boot jobs in the version stream. But they're not very much. It's not documented that well. But it's certainly possible. It's not. There is a mechanism for this.
Okay. Yeah, I saw those other boot jobs and didn't understand them. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can certainly tell you how it's working at some point.
Yeah, good. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
What about you, Terry? Do you have anything you want to discuss today?
I'd be interested in an update on the supply chain security work that's been going on. See, there's a lot of activity, so it'd be nice to just know where we are right now.
Unfortunately, I suppose we are the ones who have worked least on that. It's mostly Ankit, Rajat, and Osama, I suppose.
Yeah, Osama has been the main person there, and I've looked at it a little, and it's really awesome stuff. So we have signing of containers and pushing to the record, whatever it's called, and all the parts are there. So what's missing is the documentation and the blog posts and all this, and kind of just roll it out properly, and and the vulnerability scanning of containers and signing. We already have that. We have pipelines for that. We had that for some time using Trivy and
so I think I think it's a bit. There is a bit. We talked about this before, that it would be good to have it, make it easier to enable this on a cluster-wide way. So I think there are bit functionality missing there, but it technically works, but you have to do a change to each pipeline.
So then, actually, the way the pipelines are organized now, that they are kind of, you can have a centralized one, but in practice they are mostly copied. So for the client I'm working for, we have started using one central pipeline and then tried to use that, but of course each project needs some special things, so it disintegrates. But for the supply chain security thing, there's also, I guess, very common that you see if you use container scanning, you get always new day, new critical bug, and then you need to build your tools, and then you need to have a way to say or accept that we haven't solved, we have this critical bug today, but let's just build it and we will fix it tomorrow. So we need to have a way to override the
so there are some, work with that room for improvement.
So that sounds like it needs to be defined as a policy rather than at a per project level.
Yeah.
So ideally, you'd want someone centrally who has the ability to authorize overrides and not to just give that as a capability to the project itself.
Yeah, I think that's a
That
fairly
would work.
difficult.
That's not well. I suppose it's yeah. There are many things we would want to prove. That is, of course, one thing that could be good. Yeah.
It would probably be good once we've got that stuff going to actually do a white paper and stick it on the best practices site so that you can use that as a reference example of how to do supply chain security within Jenkins X.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, just a quick note about the policy. I think that some of these companies providing the security tools, they have also some paid tools to handle these security policies, so that they can override and manage it, because it's kind of a typical add-on that people may want.
Yeah.
And it's a bit complicated to make if you want to do it properly. And I think that what we could do is to make a config map or something where they can just, let's say, override these critical vulnerabilities, and then it could be handled however you will handle the config map, or a secret. Using a secret is perhaps okay somewhere. Forget it. Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to just briefly touch on, what discussions have gone on with the CD events team?
Too little, I would say. We started a discussion with Brady, is that his name? The Australian. And it ended up with that we said that let's find a date to meet, and then nothing more happened. We have one guy called Ashi who contacted me earlier this year, who's now back and interested to start working to see how we can implement CD events in Lighthouse, or in the webhook thing, where it could be interesting to have. Yeah, it's a nice. I think it's a place for having a hook that can accept the CD events really.
Yeah, so I think now that there's a release out for the spec, probably a good time to start thinking about re-engaging and opening up those conversations again.
Yeah. So the CD events, those would be kind of mainly for new release created and new deployment made available in a new environment.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of events in the spec now, and they're now working on extending that even further, and then moving into things like the GitHub space and looking at events around notification of changes to source code repositories. So that's a conversation that you might actually want to contribute to, because clearly there's some overlap in that space. Might be useful to be involved. They have a working group meeting. I think it's Wednesdays, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I guess the Go SCM module is a nice place to handle or to add an extra adapter for CD events from GitHub. Not necessarily from Git, but still accept CD events. Translate from Git to CD events, and it can also receive CD events and feed it into whatever.
Yeah, and again, there's another opportunity there to potentially be a reference implementation.
Yeah.
So it's another way to help set standards and then be a worked example of how to do it properly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. So it would be nice to have a Google Summer of Code student working on that. Unfortunately, there's no winter of code.
Well, you were looking for something to do over Christmas.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But again, if we've got some of these things in the backlog, they might be potentially attractive to bring new contributors in to work on that.
Yeah. So there's a new, or they have the release version 1 or something.
So it's an early point release, but they're now starting to stabilize things and working towards a version 1.0. And they've got a Golang API, so integrating would be fairly simple.
Okay. That's nice. Okay, that's nice. Good. Anything else happening in Jenkins X or something we should discuss? Yeah, it is the final time for the Google Summer Code students, so they should have now, Ankit just asked them to finish and their documentation, final documentation for what I've done. So that sums up well with request for information on supply chain security. Yeah, and also the Jenkins X UI is, I think it is soon ready to be used as a replacement for the dashboard we have today.
I guess the other thing that
go on.
The other thing that might be worth just touching on briefly, we've just published the 2022 version of the MLOps roadmap.
Okay.
And so it might at some point be worth us having a chat about refreshing the MLOps capability in Jenkins X and
All right.
setting some future plans for what needs to be done in that space.
That's interesting.
But that's going to become quite an urgent requirement for a lot of people over the next year, because the current MLOps tooling is unlikely to be sufficient to meet the needs of the AI regulations that we expect to be coming in sometime next year. So at that point, everyone's going to be rushing around looking for better tooling.
Not following, what's it called, AI regulations?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Spelled in 3 different ways. Cool. Okay, and those regulations, are they around security, or is it what's
So briefly, the most severe are the proposed EU regulations on AI, and they have a classification that they call high risk, which is basically anything that's dealing with personal information or making decisions about people.
Yeah.
And if you're operating in that space, they require that you comply with a very strict set of processes that will involve you actually proving to the EU government through a third-party agency that your code conforms to all of these standards before they will allow you to deploy it. So there'll literally be a third-party step in your deployment process where you have to provide a ton of audit information to a third party to enable them to verify you before you're allowed to switch this stuff on. Now, the challenge in that space is that most of the current tooling out there treats MLOps as an operational issue, not a software delivery issue. So most of the tooling is basically a production server onto which you upload models manually in live environments. So there's very little in the way of automated governance processes. In fact, there's very little in the way of governance processes at all. So, it's very different from the approach that we took within Jenkins X, where we just treat ML assets as the same as anything else and build the whole pipeline and deploy it in one go. So it's another area where the Jenkins X capability is much more aligned to customer needs. So it's another thing that if we keep it up to date is a unique selling point for Jenkins X.
Okay, that's very interesting. I never looked at the MLOps part.
Yeah, so it's quite out of date at the moment from an ML perspective.
This happens quickly.
Yeah, so we would need to do some refresh on it, but there were some issues around efficiency in the process we had originally, because some of the ML stuff, the images can get very large. So there was a certain amount of overhead to running that build process. But all of this, we really should just knock together a roadmap to say, you know, here's the issues, here's what we really need to do to tidy this up and make it a bit more modern and a bit more efficient.
Interesting.
Nice.
But do you mean, is there like a small community that are using it now that you are in contact with, or how is that working?
I don't know how much use it's getting at the moment. I think the best place to start is have a quick scan through the MLOps roadmap, because that sets out all the challenges in the space and the sort of reasons for why we need to be doing this. And then, you know, off the back of that, we can potentially have a longer conversation about where we think that ought to fit into the Jenkins X roadmap.
All right. So where do you find this roadmap? Simply Google
it. It's in the CD Foundation GitHub under SIG MLOps.
All right.
Yeah, I found it very quickly here. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I think it's hyphenated.
Yeah, of course.
There you go. And if you drill down in the roadmap folder, you'll find years. And then 2022. And then that's the roadmap document.
Okay, thanks. I'll paste the link in and then I'll read it too. Yeah, I'll shorten this up a little. That's great information to read.
Cool.
Any final remarks? I'll just tidy up the notes a little bit. It was too many words.
Okay. But yeah, that's fine. I think we can hold there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks all.
Yeah, bye-bye.